Hey everybody, this is Armand. I'm going to go over some rhythms and notation of rhythms and standard notation, and in a following video after this I'm going to go over standard notation of notes so you can read music and write music, but this for now is just going to be the rhythms and the basic notation. We'll go over some more intricate stuff later. So without further ado, here is your lesson for the day. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing on the screen that's going to show you just the types of notes that you will see. Alright, so let's talk about what we're looking at here. Over on the left you can see what the name of each note or rest is. They both carry the same name because they have the same value, but you call one a note and one a rest. A rest is strictly a space holder for where you would count in your mind what value of time passes, but you don't actually play anything for those durations. So the first one's a whole note, as you see, and that's just your typical little circle, and the corresponding rest is just a block hanging from the line, and its value carries 4 beats, or 4 quarter notes for that matter, which is usually a whole measure in music. We'll talk about what a measure is in a bit. A half note is equivalent to 1/2 of a whole note, and it looks like that, and it has a little block on top of the line. The quarter note is half the size of a half note. Eighth note and 16th note, so on. They just keep on going half the value of the previous one. The 32nd note would come after the 16th note, and it would actually have 3 of the little tails you see on the rest or the note. And 32nd, 64th note, they'll just add one more tail every time you turn the value into half. Alright, now we're going to talk about what a measure is. A measure is strictly a segment of time given by a number of beats in a given duration. So measures make up your entire music. It's kind of like whenever you've probably heard someone say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, they're counting 4 beats, and there are 4 beats in the measure because they reset every time they count to 4. And what determines how many beats are in a measure is your time signature. Now, a time signature is this little thing that goes at the beginning of your measure, or the beginning of your piece of music if it doesn't change, but every time it does change you'll see another one. It'll just be like a number, kind of like this. Typically you'll have 4 over 4, and what that means is the top number means how many beats are in every measure, and the bottom number means what value constitutes a beat, like what note value. So the 4 on the bottom will mean quarter note. If there were a 1 on the bottom, it would mean whole note, but you'll typically see a 4 or an 8 on the bottom, sometimes a 16. And so that would just mean, like 4/4 means there are 4 beats in a measure, you count them on the quarter note. So you get out your handy little metronome, and you'll set it to whatever number will be written at the beginning of the piece of music, or whatever you choose, and you'll just kind of follow that. Now, some other types of time signatures are as I'm showing right now. The C stands for common time, that's 4/4, and the C with the line through it means cut time, which is 2 over 2. Now, what I was saying before about tempo is that tempo is just kind of like at the beginning of your piece or wherever it changes, kind of like time signature. They'll just be like quarter note equals and then a number. And what that number means is you get out your handy dandy little metronome and you set it to that number, and according to the music, you will follow your quarter notes on the beat of the metronome. So if it's like you set your metronome 120, so you put the metronome on 120, it'll start ticking 120 times every minute, and that's what this means. That's what the metronome marking means. But as far as your music is concerned, that'll mean your quarter notes will flow at a pace of 120 quarter notes per minute, and you'll follow that accordingly. Now let's talk a little bit more about measures. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this example on the screen. Alright, this example means, I just kind of put it together, but on measure 1, you'll see there is the 4/4 signifying your time signature as your standard time for 4 beats a measure at quarter note time, and then it says your tempo is 120 beats per minute on the quarter note, and it just says moderate. Sometimes they'll just say a word like, fast, slow, and you're to discern what fast and slow is. Where the number 2 is on this picture, you can see that's where measure number 2 will start. And so that single line is what we call a bar. And the bar just tells you end of measure, beginning of new measure. At the number 3, that is what we call a double bar. Simple enough. A double bar just means new section. So if you're about to change your music, or if there's a big change right there, you'll probably put a time signature, a new key signature. Don't worry about what a key signature is. That'll be for later. At bar number 4, that is a repeat sign, and at bar number 5, it is a corresponding repeat sign. The repeat sign just means when you get to measure where the number 5 is, you won't go on to measure 5. You'll go back to where the previous repeat sign is and begin back from where there is. Now, sometimes there'll be a number saying 3 times, 4 times, but it's understood that you just repeat once. So we're going measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4, and you would repeat measure 4 according to this. Most times there will be a larger section of music there. It might be a few pages, it might be a few measures, but at the end of measure 5, you just see end bar, and that's just the thick black line and a single thin line. That means end of piece. Nothing comes after that. All right, on the screen I have put 2 staffs of standard notation. The top one has the equivalent note as the bottom staff. It's just the bottom staff is in rests, and we count all these the same. So I'm going to go ahead and count these aloud with a metronome so you can follow along with me as to how you count these. You typically count your whole notes as 1, 2, 3, 4. Your half notes as 1, 2. Your quarters as 1 each. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, but that would be 4 quarter notes. Your eighth notes will be 1 and 2 and. And your 16th notes go 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a. It sounds kind of goofy, but it really helps you keep your time. So I'm going to go ahead and count through these and follow along with me. Metronome at 120. We're going to count on the quarter note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So that's how you would count along with what you see on the screen, be it a rest or an actual note. All right, well, that concludes the rhythm lesson for today. I hope you've learned something. If you haven't, well, maybe you'll learn something else in one of my other videos. I'm pretty sure I got something you don't know somewhere. But I apologize for it being such a crash course. There's no way to really make all this information, cram into a small segment of time, and you understand it perfectly. But I put it in as logical of order as I could see, and there's going to be more information in the next video. I'll link it in the sidebar. I thank you for watching, and see you around.